What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing a beer from the Whitman Brewing Company, and they're out of Saratoga Springs, New York, and this is their I'm Still Bitter. So this is a West Coast IPA that comes in at 6.5% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed in time of review. I don't know exactly how old this can is, but I do know that it is quite fresh, and that's because I picked this one up at Brewed and Bottled in Lewiston, New York, my favorite local bottle shop. Shout out to Chris over there. He always gets his hands on some of the best beer in not only New York State, but across the country. And recently, the last time I went there to hang out and drink for a couple hours, one of the employees from Whitman was actually dropping off fresh cases of not only this beer, but a couple other hazy beers they had there. So I actually asked him, I forget his name. I'm better with faces than I am with names, but I did ask him, of the three, which one does he think that I should review for my, my grand YouTube channel? I just said, I do some YouTube reviews and I'd like to try out one of their beers. And he said, West Coast IPA. He said the name is actually kind of funny to them because they named this after themselves because they're still bitter that hazies are reigning supreme to this day. He says, this is what they drink at the brewery, obviously lagers and whatnot. And if you ask any brewer, most of them are going to be like after a long day of brewing, they're drinking lagers, pale ales, lower ABV beers, and a lot of them, I don't say don't like hazies, but that's not the first thing the first beer they're reaching for. So I was like, all right, I'll grab this one. Doesn't have a canned on date, but I would say this is no older than a month old and probably closer to 3 weeks old. I don't know the hops either. They have a generic write-up on Untapped, and I didn't even see it on their Instagram. So I'm hoping that it's a delicious West Coast IPA because, as you know on the channel here, if you've been following along, I have been reviewing a lot of West Coast IPAs and loving them. My palate has shifted over the past 6 months to a year. This is what I crave. So I'm hoping that this is a tasty beer. Now, I kept this beer in my fridge the entire time. Ooh. Wanted to come out of the can, and now this head is huge. So I don't know if there's a carbonation issue here or what's going on. It does look like some sort of West Coast IPA, no doubt. It has, I don't know when you're going to see them, probably maybe less than a week apart or so. But I just reviewed First and Walker's Union Jack, and this kind of looks like that, maybe slightly darker. So yeah, on camera it's going to look a bit darker than what I'm seeing. Let's see if I bust out the contraband web. Yeah, so you know what? I'm seeing more like that. Kind of like that. That's what I am seeing. It has more of like this nice orange color, but it's like a solid orange color with a little bit of like a golden kind of hue to it. It does have a good clarity. I don't know if you'll be able to see my hand. No, probably not. You can make out the, on it, the shadow, but probably not the actual. It does have some chill haze and whatnot, but hold up to light. Yeah, it's a little bit more hazy than I would like, so it is what it is, but it has a crazy, 3, almost 4 finger of this off-white, really creamy looking head. There's some bigger bubbles, looks a little bit soap sudsy, but for the most part, I'd say it looks kind of proper for what I'm going for outside of the carbonation being a little crazy. Let's get a nose. Yeah, it smells like an old school West Coast IPA. I don't know the hops, but I'm getting a big, not only orange and grapefruit, but a little bit of like a lemon lime kind of pop. Maybe this is a new school West Coast a little bit with maybe they're using like Motu Weka or something. Yeah, it almost has like a fresh kind of lemon or lime peel, or maybe even like a pith. More of the peel. But you could say grapefruit, orange, lemon, lime, peel, pith, rind. There's a nice piney kind of almost sprucey character. Touch of dankness. And it definitely has that bready kind of malt character, a little bit of caramel. Maybe a touch of a very underripened peach. Yeah, this smells a little bit more old school than even the Union Jack, where I think it has a little bit more malt character here. Really leaning in on the citrus and the pine. First beer from Whitman I'm ever having, and it actually smells pretty fucking good. So let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. That's nice. It doesn't have, to me, the vibrancy that Firestone Walker had. This seems a little bit more tepid in the flavor. A little bit more of just I know this sounds bad, but it's not. It's more of a generic kind of West Coast IPA, which I'm fine with. I'm loving. And look at the lacing from the head, fantastic. Yeah, reminds me of old school West Coast IPAs. Like kind of like that, and this is big praise because the beer always wins awards, and I know there's some people out there that don't understand it and other people love it, but like this honestly reminds me a lot of Bell's Two Hearted. Like off the first couple sips, very similar to me, right? The body on this one's a nice like medium, I'd say like straight on medium body. The mouthfeel has a nice crispness to it. It's moderately, maybe a touch over moderately carbonated, but still really relatively smooth on the second half of the palate, almost a touch of creaminess. I mean, as you can see with each sip, you can see like the lines. I'm just drinking this down like it's fantastic glass icing. The best thing this has going for it is just the drinkability through the roof. Like I could session this because while it does have a dry bitter kind of finish, it's not like crazy dry or bitter. So up front, I do get bready caramel malt, omnipresent from front to back. And it's nice because it's like intertwining with all of the citrus character and like the pine on the finish and everything. So it's really nice. It's more balanced from that perspective, where the Union Jack was definitely more of a hot punch. This is more of a beautifully balanced beer. So yeah, I get that up front. Then I get that, again, I would say more of like I'd say ruby red grapefruit, a sweeter orange, and then on top of that, like a lemon lime kind of peel. All three citrus fruits. You could even say Tangelo or tangerine, something in that realm. As it passes through, a little bit of that underripened peach, maybe a little bit of apricot, and then the finish. This has a huge resinous pine floral sensation to it. It finishes firmly bitter and firmly dry. Both of them are definitely firm on the palate, but it has more of that like building bitterness with like the resin that is really nice and welcomed. Like I said, I think it's more balanced from the malt to hops perspective than something like Union Jack. Like if you're just a straight on hophead who doesn't care for malt character in your beer, obviously you're going to go with more like new school West Coast IPAs that just use a simple like Pilsner malt and lets the new age hop shine, but still has that bitterness and dryness. This is something you would find probably Swamp Pizza Port, Swami's. This is kind of reminiscent of that to me, where it's like it has all of that together, right? Malt, hops, combine them, dry, bitter, resinous pine, citrus, it's all here. Is it amazing to me? It is not. Is it quite tasty? It totally is. And this is from a Saratoga, right? Saratoga Springs. And they have some stiff competition now with like Fiden's opening up their new location, whatever in the future. There you have Treehouse there now as well. But like this is a beer that if I had this on tap and I was looking for a West Coast IPA of the old school variety, I would not be disappointed in the least. So good job by Whitman's. They're named after Walt Whitman, who was he was an American poet. I think he had ties to the region. So I didn't know that until I looked up. I was like, oh, I wonder what they're named after. And sure enough, that's what it was named after. So yeah, I think this is really nice. 6.5%, you can't tell. And as I continue to take sips, the bitterness is building. If you're somebody who doesn't like bitterness, you're probably not going to buy a West Coast IPA. But this is a little bit more bitter than most I've had. I think it's right there with that Union Jack. But I think it's a little bit more, it's tempered a bit because of that malt character that I get throughout the palate, where with Union Jack, I didn't get as much of it. But this is really nice. I'm going to give I'm Still Bitter West Coast IPA from Whitman Brewing Company a low 4.25 and go 4.15. I think this is a really nice West Coast IPA that I would happily drink at any time I was offered this, or I would see it on tap and I was in the mood for a West Coast IPA all day. I love the artwork, very colorful, but just simple and nice. Like I like it. So yeah, 4.15 out of 5. Price point, I paid $5 for that can at Chris's, I believe. I would imagine at the brewery it's a bit cheaper, probably, $16 to $18 a 4-pack, probably something like that. I probably wouldn't pay more than $20 a 4-pack for this, and even that's kind of steep. The $5, when it makes distro, everybody has to make money, so it's gonna be a little bit more expensive. But I think it's a nice West Coast IPA. But then you compare this to something like Firestone Walker's Union Jack, which I like more, and I can get that for like $12 a 6-pack. So, if you want to support local New York State, like it's not a bad price point whatsoever. And then availability, I have no idea with Whitman. I have not really seen their stuff here in the Buffalo, New York area outside of Brewed Bottle, but I don't go to a lot of bottle shops as much anymore. But this is the first time I saw like a fresh drop from them. And I was like, hey, I want a West Coast IPA, and here we are. So if you've ever had anything from Whitman, looking at you, Kyle, No Hype Beer Reviews, good friend of mine, and he doesn't live too far from Saratoga Springs. I don't know. He's probably reviewed stuff from them on the channel, I would assume. If not, definitely need to try it out. But yeah, I enjoy this beer quite a bit, and I might pick up one of their hazies, or next time they get a drop, try something else out. But this was a win in my book. So if you've had this beer before, please post in the comment section. If you've had anything from Whitman, I'd love to hear from you. Like I said, 6.5%, you really can't tell. I'm going to go drink the rest of this and enjoy every second. To the next one. Cheers.